You can't just say, I want to get jacked, I want to get swole, and then just randomly throw arm days and back days and skip legs and have it done once every 2 months. You can't do that and expect results. I mean, you can, but you're insane. What's up, all my devil dogs? It's your boy Sean, the Strength Corps Iron 5-Star General. Welcome to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 things that I wish I knew when I first started working out. So a lot of people I've seen on YouTube make these videos basically trying to explain what they used to do early in their fitness journey compared to what they do now, and how changing those things could have benefited them currently. And while I do think that, you know, learning those things as you go on is part of the process and just part of the journey of fitness or whatever, I do think that there is a lot of merit in me sharing things that I wish I knew, because you might be early on in your fitness journey, and if you take these tips and apply them now, you can save yourself a lot of headaches and actually be farther along than if you hadn't implemented those earlier on. Or even if you are deep into it, 5 years, 10 years, maybe you're still making some of these mistakes, and now you're hearing them and you can see how you can change things going forward. So at least in the next 5 to 10 years, you can look back and know that you made some adjustments and you're better off for it. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's get it popping with tip number 1. So the first thing that I wish that I knew when I first started working out was that less is more. So what I mean by that is, a lot of times people go into working out, especially when they're new, like just balls to the wall. They want to hit everything 150%. They want to take every set to failure. They want to feel like they are almost dead walking out of the gym. I think we've all seen the memes and seen people talk about going in the gym on leg day and having to crawl out, or you didn't really have a good leg day or whatever. I'm just not a big proponent of that these days. Trust me, I've been there. I've done the workouts where I've thrown up while doing legs and had to barely be able to walk out. It makes you feel, I guess, some type of way like you had this great, awesome workout, but I promise you, you're not getting any more, gains or any more progress by doing that. What I've actually learned, right, in my later years of lifting, like I'm old, I'm literally 29 years old. Anyways, time isn't the point. What I've learned now is that a lot of times less is more. Fatigue management is basically what I want to talk to you guys about. So a lot of times, like I said, people want to just go balls to the wall, take every set to failure, and then they wonder why sometimes they hit plateaus or they're not progressing. And fatigue management is huge. And it's not even just about, less is more in terms of working out. It's also just in terms of like your recovery and in terms of your nutrition and things of that matter. But what I'm really trying to get across to you guys is that you don't have to hit the gym and go balls to the wall. I want you to still give 100% effort, but it doesn't mean maxing out every single time you step into the gym, or taking every rep to failure and then doing forced reps. Like, I'm just not a big fan of those things, because what I've learned is that normally what that causes is injuries down the line, or you burn yourself out, especially if you're somebody just starting and you overwork yourself and then you just get turned off to working out or whatever because you feel like it's too hard. And if every time you got to step into the gym, you have to, basically go to war against your body and leave like you got a whole bunch of battle wounds, it's gonna turn a lot of people off. A quick little anecdote: my dad, when he actually was working out years and years ago, I was like a teenager, and he had a personal trainer, and his personal trainer would have him do full body workouts 5 times a week with taking every single set to failure. And my dad quickly, like within the first few weeks, stopped. Like, he stopped seeing the trainer because that just was too much. Like, if you had to go in, imagine your hardest day of training that you've ever had. Imagine having to do that every single time you stepped into the gym. And then imagine being like a beginner. Like, that's gonna turn anybody off. So what I'm just trying to get across to you guys is that sometimes less is more. Manage your fatigue. Go RP 6 sometimes. If you're feeling like garbage, that doesn't, and you're supposed to hit a certain number, back it off a little bit that day. I promise you, one day of you backing off and actually managing your fatigue is gonna do a lot more for you than trying to push through and then possibly suffer an injury or just kind of turn yourself off from lifting. So definitely less is more is a huge thing I wish I knew when I first started working out. All right, the second thing I wish that I knew when I first started working out is the fact that supplements really don't matter. I know that a lot of people, especially when they start working out, they worry about every single supplement under the sun, how much L-arginine and L-glutamine and carnitine and L-theanine, but they're more concerned with the supplements that they have or that they're taking rather than actually trying to get on top of their nutrition, actually trying to get on top of their sleep, actually training correctly using that fatigue management we just talked about. Supplements are, I don't even, you know the phrase like, oh, it's like the icing on the cake? To me, supplements are the candle that goes inside of the icing. Like, you can have a perfectly good cake without candles. The candles kind of just adds the flair to it, right? It's kind of the same thing with supplements. Supplements isn't even the icing, right? You got the cake, obviously, which is, you know, your foundation of everything, your workouts, your nutrition, your recovery, sleep, all that good stuff. You have, you know, some other things on top of that are icing, maybe like, you know, equipment like, you know, weightlifting belts and things of that nature, right? That might help you and aid you. And then you have supplements, which are like the candles, like it adds flair, but without it, it's still a perfectly good cake, if that makes any sense. I think people like take it way too serious with the supplements. I think we've all walked into like a GNC or a vitamin shop and have been tried to be sold every supplement under the sun with promises of you're gonna, you know, gain all this mass or lose all this fat. And honestly, if you're gonna do that, it's gonna come from your nutrition and from putting in work at the gym. It's not gonna come from some magic supplement that you can buy at Vitamin Shop or a GNC or anywhere else, right? It's gonna come from that hard work. It's gonna come from that hardcore nutrition, or not necessarily hardcore nutrition, but having it in check somewhat, right? But guilty, I have been guilty of buying every supplement under the sun, including my favorite of all, BCAAs, right? Which at this point it's 2021. If you're still buying or drinking BCAAs, there's almost no hope for you, but there's still hope. There's still hope for you on my channel, but there's almost no hope for you. But yes, I've purchased many of those supplements and used them, and you know, while sometimes there's an effect, I've also seen just as good, if not better, progress while using very minimal supplements. I can make a separate video talking about the supplements that I use. If you guys want to see something like that, definitely leave a comment down below. I'll be sure to make a video going over the supplements that I use. But yes, I really do wish, going back to when I first started working out, that I just had a better understanding that supplements was something that maybe you can kind of add on once you've got everything else kind of checked off. Because what a lot of people will do is they're getting garbage sleep, they're getting, you know, garbage nutrition, their training sucks, and then they think they just, you know, take some supplements and that's going to cure everything. And that's just not the case. Until you have those things in check, I would say supplements pretty much are not going to do anything for you, because they're supposed to be something to add on to, you know, you taking care of the foundation and the basics. The third thing I wish I knew when I first started working out is that eating healthy doesn't have to be gross. I don't know where this like whole, I don't know if you call it a myth or just like misconception. That might be a little bit better. Where the misconception of, oh, if you eat healthy, it has to be dry chicken breast and flavorless broccoli and low carb this and minimal fat this, like, you know, unflavored, no seasonings, no sodium. Like, I don't know where all that came from. But if people, I think, had a better understanding that you can eat some very tasty food while losing weight, gaining muscle, being healthy, you can do all that and it still tastes really good, I think more people would actually be a lot healthier. I don't know why it's still pushed like, oh, you know, you gotta have, you know, basically no salt in anything, and if you use seasonings that makes it unhealthy. Like, most seasonings, believe it or not, have no calories in them. Like, one of my favorite seasonings is Slap Your Mama seasoning. Trust me, I know it sounds a little sus, but Slap Your Mama seasoning, it slaps, all right? Hence the name, okay? I throw that on my salmon every time I have it. I throw my salmon in the air fryer, put a little Slap Your Mama seasoning on. Trust me, that tastes better than some of the unhealthy stuff that I've had, you know, fried chicken and all that. Fried chicken is pretty good, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it really improves the flavor and for no additional calories. You have a whole bunch of companies that also make a lot of seasonings that are even low sodium that taste really good. A good example of that being Miss Dash. I used to use Miss Dash on like everything, and it adds flavor to it without a lot of sodium if you're, you know, trying to watch that. But yeah, I don't understand why You know, people have this misconception. I think maybe a lot of it just comes from the simple fact that people like to take things to the extreme and just say, well, salt is bad, or, you know, seasonings are bad. I mean, if you're saying that, I mean, I got some questions for you, but I do wish that I had a better idea of that when I first started out, because when I first started out, I was eating healthier. I made healthier choices, and I just was kind of cut back on some of the garbage I was eating. Potato chips, a gallon of orange juice. Yes, I drank like a gallon of orange juice a day when I was like in college, because it was free because I had a meal plan or whatever. Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that. Those are some dark times, but I did replace that eventually with a gallon of water every day, right? Same amount of liquid, but many less calories, okay? So I really just, you know, kind of made smarter choices. And then once I got more into it, I learned what macros were. I started adjusting my macronutrients, right? So I can get a little more protein in and focus on that. And nowadays, like, I focus even on the micronutrients in my food. So potassium, how much sodium I'm taking in, am I getting my vitamins A, K, C, D, those type of things, right? As you progress along, you definitely pay more attention to those things. And I wish going back, I would have had a better understanding of what was actually healthy, because I ate a lot of bland stuff. I had a lot of bland chicken breasts, a lot of that's a tongue twister, a lot of bland broccoli. Try saying that 10 times fast. Yeah, I just had a lot of sweet potatoes. Like, listen, I know a lot of people love sweet potatoes. I hate sweet potatoes, but everybody was talking about how good they were for you and how bad white potatoes were. So I fell into the trap, and I was eating sweet potatoes, and I was doing that, kind of pushing my way through meals. And it doesn't have to be that way. Just because something's healthy doesn't mean you have to eat it. I promise you there's an alternative that is just as healthy and probably is better for your palate, okay? So I really wish I had known that earlier on, because I think that it would have forced me to kind of get on top of my nutrition a little bit quicker than I did. So the fourth thing I wish that I did know, and this one's gonna kind of hit home. I might make an extended video on this, but I wanted to touch on it, right? It's a little bit more serious. That's why my tone has changed a little bit. I saw a post by one of my good friends, Rob, the other day, of Croqueta Strength, right? He posted that training isn't therapy, therapy is therapy. And that really spoke to me, because I think that we've all, if not having the experience ourselves, have seen other people have this experience, if you are into like the active lifestyle or whatever, where they are, you know, using whatever physical activity, whether it be lifting weights or whatever other form of, you know, physical activity they like to, you know, involve themselves in. They use that as therapy when they have very deep underlying issues that therapy actually needs to be, you know, addressed with. It needs to be addressed with actual therapy, if that makes sense. Trust me, I've been there, right? I've been the person who, like, I've been kind of down. I've been kind of, you know, in my feelings or in my head about certain things and, you know, certain life events. And I've definitely used the gym as therapy. And I'm not saying that you can't. I think the gym is a great place to go to blow off steam, kind of get some time to yourself. You can definitely be deep in your thoughts, right? Especially if you're a power lifter, because our rest periods be kind of long sometimes. You can really think about a lot of things, you know. You should be thinking about training, but there's times where your mind is on other things, right? And I think that that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm talking about is when people have actual real deep-seated like things that they probably should see a professional about, but instead they go to the gym and they kind of, for me, that's putting a band-aid on like a literal open wound. And it's like, it's doing something. Maybe it's stopping a little bleeding, but you still have a giant wound that needs to be treated by somebody who can actually, you know, help you to heal those things, heal those wounds, and help you to move on. So I really, you know, saw that post, and it spoke to me, because I know plenty of people like that. I know plenty of people who I wish would have sought therapy or just help, or just speaking to somebody about their problems instead of bottling it all up and then just taking it out on the weights and then going home and feeling good for a little bit and then having the same problems and then taking it out on the weights. And it just becomes a repetitive cycle that doesn't help you to get any better and doesn't help you to solve your issues. So sorry if that, you know, is a little kind of serious for you guys, but honestly, that is something I wish I did know, because not only could I have helped myself a little bit better instead of just trying to medicate myself through weight training, you know, which in all honesty, I have my best sessions when I'm in a good mood. I know a lot of people say when they're angry, they lift heavier, and that's cool. If that's you, cool. But like for me, when I'm having fun and I'm in a good mood and a good mental space, that's when I have my best workouts. And I encourage everybody to try that, because as much as you think that that anger and that sadness fuels you, which it can, I'm not saying that it can't. I've definitely hit some PRs when I wasn't in the best mood, right? I would encourage everybody to try and have workouts where they're having a good time and they're having fun. And I think that once you see that you can get the same or better results, then you wouldn't try and always, you know, self-medicate through lifting weights or working out. And I wish I had known that so I could have helped myself and others. All right, let's reel it back in a little bit, right, for the last one. So the last thing I wish that I knew when I first started working out was to track my training, right? I think a lot of people go to the gym. I know, I've worked in gyms. A lot of people go to the gym and they wing it. There's no plan. There's no, hey, this day I'm doing this, then I'm doing this, and I'm gonna try and increase each time. I'm gonna write down what I did so I know I can try and get better the next time. There's not really a lot of that. A lot of it, you'd be surprised, is people walking in and saying, feel like doing legs today, which happens maybe once a month, maybe less than that. I want to do chest today, maybe some arms today, or in the middle of your arm workout, I kind of want to do back now. And there's just no real consistency. And while I am a proponent of any form of movement and physical activity, where the problem comes in is people wonder why they're not getting results and they are not tracking what they're doing. You know, that doesn't make any sense. That's like saying, hey, I'm trying to make this certain food and like I'm not following any type of recipe. I'm just throwing random, you know, ingredients together and hoping I come out with, you know, whatever the recipe happens to be. It doesn't work that way. If you know you have a certain recipe, you need to see what does the recipe requires. How much of each ingredient does it require? How long do I need to cook it for? Those things matter. The steps to actually get to the goals matter. You can't just say, I want to get jacked, I want to get swole, and then just randomly throw arm days and back days and skip legs and have it done once every 2 months. You can't do that and expect results. I mean, you can, but you're insane, right? Insanity, doing the same thing over, expecting different results, right? Because when you tell people to track things, they're like, I don't really track it, I keep it in my mind. But those be the same people that'll come in and do 100-pound dumbbells on the bench press or dumbbell bench, right? They'll do 100 pounds on that, then they'll come back the next week and they'll just feel burned out. And so the hundreds might feel heavy, and that's all part of fatigue management, right? And then they'll maybe use the 80s, and then they'll come back and be like, oh, I used 80 last week, so now I'm gonna do 85. When in fact, they probably could have done 105 if they got enough rest, but they just aren't keeping track of things, you know? And the more you keep track of things, the better you can make your workouts for yourself, you know? It's all data. That's all it is. So whether you have a good workout, a bad workout, it's all data. Shout out to Hamstring Poppy, Sean Noriega. That's one of my favorite things anybody has ever said, is that there's no bad days, there's no bad sessions. It's just more data for you to accumulate and see what happens when certain things happen in the gym. You know, if you know, PR on a day, or if you take it to failure, what happens to the other workouts and things like that. So I just really wish that I would have tracked things, because I was the person going into the gym, and while I had a plan, like I said, okay, I'm gonna hit chest, I'm gonna hit back, there's never really, I didn't really write a lot of stuff down a lot of the times. I would go in and I would write it down sometimes, but nowhere near what I do now. And a lot of times I would forget, you know, and I would start, you know, I would work my way up to 100-pound dumbbells and then end back up at the 80s. And I'm like, how did this happen? Like, even if I was dieting, that shouldn't happen, right? And I think that if people just took the time to track their workouts, right? Track them, you know, make it simple. I'm gonna do 3 sets of 10, and if I only get 10, 8, and 7, I'm gonna keep doing that weight till I can get all through at 10. Then I'm gonna up at 5 pounds and try and get it for 10 for the next time, and so on and so forth. Even if you keep it basic like that, for most people, that's gonna produce much better results than you walking into the gym and just kind of winging it. And I would do that. I would go in and I would say, I'm a bench today, I'm gonna do a chest day, but it would be, am I gonna do bench press? Oh, maybe I'll hit some machine press. Maybe I'll do this exercise with some flies. There was no strategy to it. And it really wasn't until I hired a coach myself you know, a few years back that I kind of saw the benefit of, you know, having a game plan, because you know when you're going to the gym what you're going to do exactly, so you never wonder if you did enough or if you did too much. You have it written out, you execute what's on the game plan, you leave, you recover, you come back and you do it for the next muscle group or whatever it is you're training. So I wish I would have known that a little bit better, like, because I did implement that a little bit when I first started, but I wish that I had implemented it to the extent that I do now back then, because I think I'd be much more progressed. But hey, it's part of the game, right? It's part of the game, it's part of the learning experience. All right, guys, so I hope that those tips really did help you guys out. If you guys have any tips that you have for when you first started lifting, go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. I also have a few more tips. I just didn't want to make this video super long. So if you guys want to see another part to this, a part 2 or whatever, go ahead and leave that in the comments, or drop a like on the video so I can see you guys liked it, and I'll go ahead and I'll make another part, because there's definitely some other things I can give you guys as tips, especially if you're a beginner and you're looking to not make a lot of the same mistakes that I made. So with that being said, I hope you did enjoy today's video. If you did, be sure to subscribe, leave a thumbs up down below, really helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to click that bell next to the subscription button so you get notifications for all my new videos. And of course, don't forget the orders, subscribe and share, like and comment, follow all my social media. Till next time, all my devil dogs, dismissed.